Today we're going to be working on a 2008 Acura RDX. We'll be putting in a VLine 2 in here, and we'll need to remove the radio and the display for that. So I'll show you how to do that. So the first step will be taking off these two pieces of trim right here. We'll be using a pry tool for that. And we're just going to get under the back corner of this and pull up. And then this part needs to come down and out at an angle. So when you pull it out, you want to pull it up on this end. Once we've got that removed, we'll move over to this driver one. So next we're going to pry this up. And then that'll be out of the way of this one over here on this side. Now we've got that one loose. And next we're going to remove this center piece here with the cup holders. To get this off with the cup holders here, we're just going to use our pry tool again, and we're just going to pry up on each side. There we go. And then we're going to want to take this piece of trim right here and push it to the side, and then you want to lift this towards the front of the car. There we go. And then this will come loose and we don't have to remove all of this. Alright, so we're going to remove the two Phillips head screws on the bottom here. And then once we have those out, we'll move on to the four 10mm bolts. Those will be right here, and then same on the driver's side. Alright, so next we're going to pull out the smaller piece of trim on the bottom, and we're just going to unplug everything behind here. There we go. And now that that's removed, we can pull the radio down. And to pull this fully out, it's a lot easier if you take the shifter and shift all the way back. You do want to make sure you have your parking brake on for this. We're going to push down this lever on the back side, and then we'll be able to shift without turning the vehicle on. And then now the radio will pull all the way out, and we can start disconnecting everything here. Alright, so we're going to start disconnecting everything behind the radio. Now that we've got everything removed on the back of the radio, here's what that looks like. So to remove the display, we're going to have to take off this piece of trim and this one on the far right passenger side. So we'll just pry this one up and this one will come out. As you can see, there's a vertical clip here that goes in, and then we've got two here as well that are vertical. Then we've got this piece here, and that just pries right out. And then we've got one screw here that we'll take out, and then we'll have one on the other side as well behind that piece of trim. And next we'll be removing this piece here. We're just going to use our pry tool for that, and it's just the one clip. And then we'll be removing this Phillips head screw here. Now that we've got that removed, we can take this whole piece of trim out. I'm going to pry up here. You can pry at the bottom, but this trim here, this kind of rubber, will kind of dent, so we want to avoid prying on this if we can. And if we just pry from the top, the bottom will come loose, and we can pull it out. And you can fully disconnect this, but the only thing that we need back here is going to be this plug. So you can just disconnect this and leave it hanging if you want. But for the video, we are going to unplug it fully. Next, we'll be removing the display here, and that'll be the four Phillips head screws. And once you've got that out, you just have to pull on the bottom of the display, so the top will have clearance, and then you can pull it out. And we're just going to disconnect the one plug on the back right here. Alright, so we're ready to connect all of our connectors, and we're going to start with this one here, our VHA-DL. And that'll be plugging in right here to the display connector. And then this side will now plug into the display. And this part, we're just going to run down this back channel here, down below the radio. And you can reach right up there and feel it. So you can pull it down. So now that we've got this pulled through here, we're ready to connect our radio wires, and then we'll run this to the glove box with the radio harness. So we've got our radio harness here. It's your MCF HA HDD. And that'll be connecting to this connector. So we'll plug that in. Now this side will be going into our radio, And for this install, we don't need the REV wire, so we'll leave that disconnected. You can cut that here or just tape it down if you'd like. And then lastly, on the same harness, we have this here, which we're gonna run up behind the display, and that'll be plugging into where the knob sits, which is right in the center right here. This will plug into the back now instead of the factory one. And now that we've got our harnesses here, we're ready to run these over to the glove box. So we'll show you how to drop this down. So to remove the glove box, you've got this piece right here that we just need to push down on, and that's a little hook for the piston. And then you're just gonna push in on both sides to release these clips. And now we've got the glove box dropped down, and we can reach all the way over here behind the radio. So we're simply gonna take our two harnesses and run those through here. And this will be good for a V-Lite install. You'll still need to install the microphone at this point, so we'll show how to connect the factory microphone, or if you're running an aftermarket microphone, you can watch our other tutorials on that. So we're going to be connecting the factory microphone in this vehicle, which will be coming from this module here, which is the factory Bluetooth module. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect that. And then we're going to unplug the cigarette lighter, which is right here. And that'll allow us to pull this up a little more. And then we've already peeled our tape off of here, but there's some factory electrical tape on the end of this that keeps it from coming off. So you'll want to remove all that. And then we're going to be grabbing these two wires on the far side here. So we're going to be getting these two pins on the far right side. This would be pin number 1 over here. So these two are going to be 9 and 10. And it's these two thinner green and red wires. You can see here where we've already attached to them to test them out. And we're going to do that again here with our harness. So we'll go ahead and connect to the green one first, which in this vehicle is going to be our positive. We're going to slide the bottom part of the P-tap around the wire. And then we're going to take our red wire on our kit, and we're going to connect that to the green for positive. Now that we've got that screwed down, it should bite into the wire so we can get a signal from it. And now we'll do the same for the red wire. And now from here, we're going to put this loom back around all these wires real quick. There we go. And we'll plug this back in. We can plug the cigarette lighter back in as well. Now we're going to run this behind the radio here and to the glove box. And then along the way here, we are going to zip tie it. And then we've got a little bit of slack as well, so we'll be zip tying that up. So now we're going to reassemble everything, and we're going to start with the display. So we're going to plug in our cable into the back of the display, and then you want to slide the top in like this, and then push down on the bottom. And then we're going to line up the two pegs, one here and one here. There we go. And now we'll put all 4 screws in. So we're going to put these 4 screws in now. And now that those are in, we'll move on to the trim piece here. So we're going to go ahead and plug all of these back in here. And the main one that you want to pay attention to is this one that's in the middle right here. That's going to be our harness that plugs in there. I'm going to run these other ones around it. And once all those are plugged in, this will just seat right back into place. Go. And we're going to put our 2 screws back in the top. And now that those are in, we can put all of our trim in. So we're going to connect this piece of trim right here. And then this piece will be on the passenger side. And then lastly, this piece will go on the end cap. There we go. And now that everything's in place up here, we'll move on to the radio. So now we're ready to reconnect the radio here. We're going to start with this plug here on the far side. And then we've got ours here, which will plug in. And then we've got the two other ones that'll plug in here and the antenna. We're going to plug those in, but you might not be able to see them. Now that we've got everything connected there, we'll slide the radio back in. And we want to try to slide it back into place where all four holes line up here. Sometimes the V-line harness might need to be pulled down a little bit or moved out of the way. So now we're going to seat the radio in place. You're going to push up on it. You need to have it behind this lip here. And then once it's behind there, we can lower it into place. There's going to be two pegs on the bottom that we need to line up right next to where the 10mm mount. And then we'll go ahead and put those in. And once we have all those in, we're ready to start putting all of our trim in. Alright, so we're ready to put this piece in now. Just going to plug in all connectors on the sides if you have the heated seats. And then, of course, the cigarette socket will need to be plugged in as well. There we go. Once those are plugged in, we need to get these clips in on top. There we go. So we got those in, and then we're going to put in our two screws here. Alright, so now that we've got everything put in, we're going to move on to the cup holders here. To get that in, you're just going to slide it back at an angle like this. There we go. And then from here, you just line up all four clips in the corners. And then we'll snap this just kind of loosely in place. And next, we'll move on to the two side pieces of trim. Start with the passenger side here. We're going to just put this in at a little bit of an angle. Push down. And then same for this side here, but we do want to push this up a little bit because it does snap into the actual trim. There we go. And then lastly, we'll push that back down. And now we've got everything fully installed.